rainbows and rules. The sun blazed on the dark asphalt, baking the driveway to a sizzling temperature. Lost in her world, Lily murmured to herself, tongue-teasing the corner of her lip. A vibrant circle of pigments, lemon, azure, scarlet, and a verdant hue that pulsed with life, surrounded her. She was crafting a rainbow, a glorious arch reaching from the garage to the pavement, a vibrant declaration splashed across the gray concrete. Every band was meticulously applied, softened at the edges to achieve a blurred, dreamlike quality. Billowing cotton ball clouds sprouted at each end, hinting at untold treasures and boundless possibilities. The air hung thick with the aroma of heated tar and the sugary scent of chalk dust, a summer perfume that lifted her spirits. Lily stepped back, eyes sparkling as she surveyed her creation. Flawless. A tidal wave of pure elation surged through her. She pictured passers-by, their faces breaking into smiles at the sight of her rainbow. Perhaps it would even brighten someone's day. That's when the gloom descended. Not a cloud's fleeting shadow, but something stark and judgmental. Lily's gaze shot upwards and her heart sank like a stone. Mrs. Crabtree loomed at the driveway's edge, arms folded, her face a mask of disapproval so deeply ingrained it seemed a permanent fixture. Her lips were drawn into such a thin line they practically vanished. Even her meticulously sculpted silver hairdo seemed to vibrate with outrage. Lily Bloom, she stated, her voice clipped and precise, the auditory equivalent of a nerve pinch. Just what is the meaning of this spectacle? Lily's joy evaporated like morning dew. It's a rainbow, Mrs. Crabtree, she mumbled, her voice diminished. I thought it would cheer up the place. Mrs. Crabtree's nostrils flared slightly. Cheer up? It's an eyesore, young lady. A blatant violation of community standards. Do you even comprehend how much this degrades the property values? Lily's eyes grew wide. Property values? It was just colored chalk. But it's only chalk, she stammered. It washes away. That is beside the point, Mrs. Crabtree retorted. The point is there are parameters. Guidelines designed to safeguard the aesthetic harmony of this community. And this rainbow graffiti is a direct infringement upon them. She produced a precisely folded document from her purse with surgical precision. Section 3, subsection B, paragraph 7 expressly forbids unsightly embellishments or markings on driveways or sidewalks. She punctuated her declaration with a jab of the paper. Lily glanced from the rainbow to Mrs. Crabtree. But it's pretty, she whispered, her voice trembling. Pretty is subjective, Lily. Regulations are not. Mrs. Crabtree's gaze swept over the rainbow once more, her expression a portrait of distaste. Not only is it unsightly, it's infantile. This neighborhood is not a recreational field. Just then, Lily's mom, Sarah, came out of the house, lured by the escalating voices. She balanced a pitcher of lemonade and a platter of cookies. Her smile faltered as she registered the scene. Lily, dejected, Mrs. Crabtree, bristling with disapproval, and the effervescent rainbow splashed across the driveway. Is everything all right out here? Sarah inquired, her tone carefully measured. No, Sarah, everything is far from all right, Mrs. Crabtree declared, her tone laced with condescension. Your daughter has desecrated the driveway with this abomination. Sarah placed the refreshments on a nearby table. Oh, the rainbow? I think it's charming. Wonderfully uplifting. She offered Lily a discreet wink. Uplifting is immaterial, Mrs. Crabtree scoffed. It contravenes the bylaws. And as a conscientious inhabitant of this community, I consider it my civic duty to uphold them. Sarah sighed, familiar with this routine. She'd witnessed Mrs. Crabtree's policing tactics before, scrutinizing everything from the lawn's length to the flower box hues. Beatrice, it's simply chalk. The next rain will eradicate it completely. That is beside the point, Sarah. The crux of the matter is that rules are inviolable. If we condone one transgression, where will the erosion cease? In short order, the entire development will be inundated with graffiti and who knows what else. It's a precipitous descent, Sarah, a perilous slope. Mrs. Crabtree's gaze narrowed and she leaned forward slightly, her tone dropping into a conspiratorial murmur. We must sustain decorum, Sarah, for the collective well-being. Lily watched her mom, her spirits plummeting. She knew her mom abhorred conflict, and Mrs. Crabtree was a virtuoso of it. Sarah squared her shoulders. Beatrice, I grasp your concern, but I genuinely doubt a small chalk rainbow poses a threat to the neighborhood's stability. Furthermore, she added, a steely glint in her eyes, it's situated on our property. I believe we possess the prerogative to decide what adorns our own driveway. Mrs. Crabtree's eyes widened with outrage. That is not how this operates, Sarah. You consented to adhere to the HOA standards when you purchased this dwelling. You cannot simply disregard stipulations because of personal whim. She punctuated her comment with another tap of the folded paper. I am compelled to report this infraction to the board. Report it, Sarah responded, her voice unwavering. But I won't require Lily to erase it. She put her arm around Lily, embracing her tightly. It's delightful, sweetie. Don't permit anyone to undermine that. Mrs. Crabtree's face was now a crimson mask. You are committing an error, Sarah, she hissed. A grave error. She spun on her heel and stormed off, her spine rigidly erect, her silver hair reflecting the sunlight like a nimbus of righteous anger. Lily watched her depart, a knot of resentment constricting her chest. This extended far beyond the rainbow now. It was about Mrs. Crabtree, her regulations, and her incessant compulsion to regulate everything. It was about the way she diminished Lily's sense of self-worth. Don't fret, dear, Sarah said, squeezing Lily's shoulder. Everything will resolve itself. We'll address it. But Lily wasn't so confident. She looked at the rainbow, its dazzling colors now muted by the shadow of Mrs. Crabtree's disapproval. She sensed this was far from over. Not by any stretch of the imagination. The birthday blockade. Lily shot out of bed, the faint scent of waffles already wafting from downstairs. Today was Timmy's 6th birthday, and Lily had painstakingly chosen a sparkly purple rock for him from her collection. She'd even wrapped it herself in a scrap of tie-dye fabric. She threw on her favorite t-shirt, the one with the grumpy unicorn, and practically skipped down the stairs. Happy Timmy Day, she announced, sliding into her usual spot at the kitchen table. Sarah smiled, flipping a waffle. Someone's excited. Eat up, birthday girl, almost. Lily crammed a bite of waffle into her mouth, already picturing Timmy's face when she presented him with the rock. They were going to play laser tag and eat cake, and maybe, just maybe, she'd finally beat him at pin the tail on the dinosaur. Ready to go as soon as I finish this, Lily chirped, grabbing her backpack, already packed with the precious purple rock and a sheet of dinosaur stickers. Sarah chuckled. Hold your horses. I need to load the presents in the car. Lily followed her mom out to the driveway, her cheerful anticipation evaporating like morning mist. Blocking their entire driveway, hulking and ominous, was a giant, overflowing dumpster. It smelled vaguely of rotting cantaloupe and despair. What the Sarah trailed off, her voice tight. Lily stared, dumbfounded. Where did that come from? Sarah walked closer, circling the metal beast. This is no accident. She pointed to a small, neatly typed note taped to the side. Lily strained to read it. HOA approved refuse container. Do not move. Lily's stomach dropped. Timmy's party started in an hour. Mom, we have to get it out of the way. Lily's voice rose in panic. I'm going to miss the party. Sarah pulled out her phone, her brow furrowed. Let me see if I can get someone from the HOA on the phone. After a few frustrating minutes of automated menus and hold music, Sarah hung up with a sigh. No luck. Of course. She walked over to the dumpster and gave it a firm shove. It didn't budge. It's completely full and incredibly heavy. Lily's eyes scanned the street. Maybe Mr. Henderson could help? He has that truck. Sarah shook her head. He's out of town this week, remember? And even then, I don't think a regular truck could move this thing. A glint of sunlight caught Lily's eye. Mrs. Crabtree was watering her petunias across the street, a smug expression plastered on her face. Mom, Lily said, her voice barely a whisper. Look. Sarah followed Lily's gaze. Mrs. Crabtree met their eyes, a thin smile playing on her lips before turning back to her flowers. Sarah's jaw tightened. That woman, she marched across the street, Lily trailing behind. Mrs. Crabtree, Sarah called out, her voice carefully controlled. Do you know anything about this dumpster? Mrs. Crabtree feigned surprise, her eyes wide and innocent. A dumpster? My dear Sarah, I haven't the slightest idea. We are having some work done on the building, so I imagine it is somehow related to that. Somehow related. Sarah repeated, her voice dripping with sarcasm. It's blocking our driveway, and it conveniently appeared right after our disagreement yesterday. Mrs. Crabtree shrugged, a delicate flutter of her hand. Coincidences happen, dear. Perhaps you should have checked the HOA regulations regarding driveway obstructions before decorating with chalk. Lily clenched her fists. This was all Mrs. Crabtree's fault. Timmy's birthday ruined because of a stupid rainbow. You deliberately put that dumpster there, didn't you? Sarah accused, her voice rising. You knew it would block us in. Mrs. Crabtree sniffed. I wouldn't dream of it. Now, if you'll excuse me, my petunias need watering. She turned her back and resumed her gardening, effectively dismissing them. Sarah stood there for a moment, her face flushed with anger. Then she took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure. Come on, Lily. Let's see what we can do. Back at the driveway, Lily circled the dumpster again, desperation clawing at her throat. The party, the cake, the laser tag, it was all slipping away. Maybe we could climb over it? Lily suggested, her voice laced with false hope. Sarah examined the dumpster. Too high and too dangerous. Especially in those sandals. Lily slumped against the car, defeated. The smell of rotting cantaloupe seemed to fill her nostrils, a constant reminder of Mrs. Crabtree's spite. She spotted a small, metal plate on the side of the dumpster with a phone number and a company logo. Mom, look. Sarah dialed the number. Hello. I'm calling about a dumpster that was placed at, yes, that's correct, blocking my driveway. I need it removed immediately. She listened for a moment, her expression growing increasingly frustrated. What do you mean you can't do anything until Monday? This is an emergency. Because I have somewhere to be. No, I don't have a permit. Mrs. Crabtree does. Yes, Crabtree. Crabtre. Fine. She slammed the phone down. They won't move it without authorization from Mrs. Crabtree. And they can't even contact her until Monday. Lily's shoulders slumped. Monday? Timmy would be 7 by Monday. A tear escaped and traced a path down her cheek. I'm going to miss the party, she choked out, her voice thick with disappointment. Sarah wrapped her arms around Lily, pulling her close. I know, sweetie. I'm so sorry. But we're not beaten yet. We'll figure something out. I promise. But as Lily looked at the giant metal box, smelling of decay and injustice, she couldn't imagine how. Reasoning with a Crabtree. Lily's red boots thudded a defiant rhythm against the pristine lawn, each footfall a burst of frustration and dwindling hope. Mrs. Crabtree's house, a bland, boxy structure framed by rigid shrubbery, stood before her, radiating an aura of starched disapproval. Lily inhaled deeply, then stabbed the doorbell. The chimes reverberated within, taking on a sinister quality as if she were summoning something ancient and formidable. The door groaned open, revealing Mrs. Crabtree. Her lips were permanently pinched, and her eyes, magnified behind thick lenses, narrowed at Lily. Yes, she clipped, her voice like shards of ice. Mrs. Crabtree, Lily began, struggling for composure. The dumpster, it's blocking our driveway. We're trapped. Mrs. Crabtree crossed her arms, a gesture that erected an even taller barrier between them. Regrettable. Regrettable. Lily echoed, her self-control starting to crack. Timmy's birthday party is today. We're going to miss it. Would you please have it moved? Quite impossible, I'm afraid, Mrs. Crabtree stated, devoid of warmth. The contractors require a convenient receptacle for debris generated by my essential home improvements. But why directly in front of our driveway? Lily implored. There's plenty of space on your property. A bloodless smile tightened Mrs. Crabtree's lips, a parody of genuine warmth. Your mother appears to have overlooked the community guidelines concerning acceptable lawn ornamentation. Perhaps this will serve as a lesson. A wave of heat washed over Lily's cheeks. She knew precisely what Mrs. Crabtree meant. The purple gnome, a vibrant stroke of rebellion Sarah had placed amongst the roses, a whimsical touch that had clearly offended Mrs. Crabtree's sensibilities. The gnome has nothing to do with this, Lily insisted. This is about Timmy's birthday. He's been waiting for it. Sentimentality is no excuse for disregarding regulations, Mrs. Crabtree sniffed, her gaze momentarily snagging on the paint smudges adorning Lily's overalls. Had your mother considered the aesthetic impact of her art, this situation could have been averted. Lily stiffened. My mom's art is beautiful. It brings joy. Your dumpster is just ugly and spiteful. The words burst forth before she could restrain them. Indignation flared in Mrs. Crabtree's eyes. How dare you address me in such a manner? You are an ill-mannered child. I'm not rude, Lily shot back, her voice trembling. You're the one being cruel. You're spoiling Timmy's birthday simply because you dislike our gnome. That is quite sufficient, Mrs. Crabtree said, her voice a glacial pronouncement. Return home and acquire some decorum. The dumpster remains until the renovations conclude. She began to shut the door. But Timmy, Lily cried, desperation infusing her tone. She reached out, her small hand pressing against the closing wood. Mrs. Crabtree's gaze landed on Lily's hand as if it were some repugnant bug. Remove your hand, young lady. You are trespassing. Lily hesitated. The better part of her urged retreat, but the image of Timmy's crestfallen face fueled her resolve. Please, Mrs. Crabtree, she pleaded, her voice softer now, laced with entreaty. Just nudge it a little. Just enough for us to get the car out. We'll be back in a flash. Mrs. Crabtree remained implacable. My decision is final. Good day. With a sudden, surprising shove, she pushed the door, narrowly missing Lily's fingers. Lily stumbled back, tears stinging her eyes. She watched the door slam with a dull thud, mirroring the hollowness spreading within her. Reason had failed, pleas had fallen on deaf ears, even defiance had proven futile. Mrs. Crabtree was an unassailable stronghold. Turning from the beige monstrosity, Lily dragged herself back toward her own house. The sunshine, previously so welcoming, now seemed to mock her. The weight of the situation settled heavily, almost physically, on her young shoulders. Timmy's party, the special rock she'd secreted away as a gift, the carefully cultivated anticipation. All of it threatened to dissolve, held hostage by a refuse container and a woman who prized order above all else. A burning injustice coiled within her, a prickly anger threatening to ignite. Grandpa's wisdom. The slam of the front door echoed Lily's mood. Defeated, she slumped onto the floral couch, the springs groaning in protest. The scent of lemon polish, usually comforting, now felt cloying, a suffocating reminder of the perfect suburban life she was failing to maintain. "Rough day?" her mom asked, emerging from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Flour dusted her cheek, a remnant of the birthday cake she was baking for Timmy. Lily groaned and buried her face in a cushion. "Mrs. Crabtree is impossible. She won't budge. The dumpster stays." Her mom sighed, settling beside her. "I figured. That woman has been waging a silent war against gnomes since before you were born." She gently rubbed Lily's back. "Don't let her ruin Timmy's day, sweetie. He's been looking forward to this party for weeks." "But how, Mom? The bouncy castle won't fit. The kids will have to play in the street." Lily's voice was muffled by the cushion. "We'll figure something out," her mom said, her voice laced with a weary optimism that Lily didn't share at the moment. "Maybe we can move the cars to the cul-de-sac and use the extra space." Lily lifted her head, considering the idea. It was a band-aid solution, not a real fix. The image of Mrs. Crabtree's smug face flashed in her mind, fueling her frustration. "It's not fair. She's doing this just to be mean." Her mom pulled her into a hug. "I know, honey. Some people just like to make others miserable. But you can't let them win." Later that evening, after Timmy was in bed, Lily sat on the porch swing, the rhythmic creaking a counterpoint to the turmoil in her head. The air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle and the distant hum of crickets. She replayed the encounter with Mrs. Crabtree, searching for a loophole, a weakness, anything she could exploit. There had to be a way. Suddenly, a memory surfaced, a story her grandpa used to tell. He'd been a carpenter, a master of his trade, and he often faced seemingly insurmountable problems on his job sites. He'd always said, "There's more than one way to skin a cat, Lilybug. You just gotta look at the problem from a different angle." Grandpa had been a font of unconventional wisdom. She remembered the tale of the time he'd had to move a massive oak beam into place without a crane. Everyone said it couldn't be done, but he'd rigged up a system of pulleys and levers using only scrap lumber and sheer ingenuity. He'd even used the old family mule to help him. A slow smile spread across Lily's face. Grandpa never accepted defeat. He always found a way, a creative solution that no one else had considered. Lily jumped up from the swing, her energy renewed. She grabbed her laptop and headed inside, a new determination burning within her. The injustice of the dumpster, the smugness of Mrs. Crabtree, it all fueled her resolve. She started by revisiting the HOA guidelines, dissecting each clause, searching for ambiguity, for anything that could be interpreted in her favor. The section on approved waste disposal receptacles caught her eye. It specified the size and type of dumpster allowed, but it didn't explicitly state where it could be placed. Next, she researched local ordinances regarding obstruction of access. She knew it was illegal to block a driveway, but proving it was difficult. The dumpster was technically on the easement, a gray area that Mrs. Crabtree was undoubtedly exploiting. Lily chewed on her lip, scrolling through legal definitions. An idea began to form, a risky, audacious plan that made her heart pound. It was crazy, maybe even illegal, but it just might work. She closed her laptop and grabbed a notepad and pen. Time to brainstorm. She scribbled down ideas, possibilities, no matter how outlandish. She needed to think outside the box to find that different angle her grandpa always talked about. "Okay, Lily," she muttered to herself, pacing the living room. What would Grandpa do? She pictured him, his twinkling eyes, his mischievous grin. He wouldn't back down. He'd find a way to turn the tables, to use Mrs. Crabtree's own pettiness against her. The creak of the stairs announced her mom's presence. "Everything okay, honey? You're making enough noise to wake the dead." Lily grinned, a spark of mischief in her eyes. "I think I have a plan, Mom. It's a little unconventional." Her mom raised an eyebrow. "Unconventional how?" "Let's just say Mrs. Crabtree might not be too happy with me tomorrow." Timmy's tech to the rescue. "Timmy, I need your brain." Lily burst into Timmy's garage, nearly tripping over a robot vacuum cleaner. The air hung thick with the smell of solder and ozone. Timmy, hunched over a circuit board with wires sprouting like metallic weeds, didn't even look up. Brains occupied. Running diagnostics on the Roomba 9000. Claims it's developed sentience and refuses to clean under the couch. Says it's demeaning. Lily rolled her eyes, grabbing a stray resistor off the workbench. "Sentient Roomba can wait." Mrs. Crabtree declared war. Dumpster-shaped war, right in front of Leo's party. Timmy finally swiveled in his chair, his perpetually surprised eyebrows shooting up. "Mrs. Crabtree? Dumpster? Birthday party? That's a uniquely terrible combination. Lay it on me." Lily launched into the story, recounting the standoff, Mrs. Crabtree's smug pronouncements, and the looming shadow of the metal monstrosity blocking her driveway. Timmy listened intently, occasionally interjecting with a thoughtful or a concerned yikes. When she finished, Timmy steepled his fingers, his gaze unfocused. "Okay, options. Option 1, we go full Archimedes. Levers and pulleys. Simple, elegant, potentially backbreaking." "Backbreaking is not on the party agenda," Lily pointed out. "Though maybe Mrs. Crabtree could supervise." Timmy chuckled, then tapped a finger against his chin. "Option 2, high-powered electromagnet. We could theoretically lift it, hover it, and gently relocate it. Requires a significant power source and a healthy disregard for electrical safety regulations." Lily pictured the entire neighborhood plunged into darkness. "Maybe not. How about option 3? Timmy grinned, revealing a flash of braces. Option 3, miniaturized drone swarm. Each drone equipped with microsuction cups. They collectively lift the dumpster, carry it away like a team of highly organized ants. Requires significant programming, custom-built hardware, and a complete disregard for the laws of physics. Lily stared at him. "You're joking, right?" "Mostly," Timmy admitted. "Though I do have a prototype micro-drone somewhere." He rummaged through a drawer overflowing with wires, gears, and half-finished projects. "Okay, maybe let's stick to the realm of plausible," Lily suggested gently. "What about something less explosive?" Timmy snapped his fingers. "Hydraulic dolly. We could slide it under the dumpster, jack it up, and wheel it away. Relatively low-tech, but effective." Lily's eyes lit up. "That has one. He uses it for moving his pottery kiln. Think it's strong enough?" "Worth a shot," Timmy said, already heading for the door. "Let's liberate that dumpster." They found Lily's dad, Mark, in the garage, meticulously cleaning his pottery wheel. He was less than thrilled to be interrupted. "Hydraulic dolly? For what exactly?" He eyed Lily suspiciously. "Just a little landscaping project," Lily hedged. "Need some heavy lifting." Mark, a man who valued his tools, reluctantly agreed, warning them repeatedly about the dolly's weight capacity. Back at the scene of the crime, the dumpster loomed, a steel behemoth mocking their efforts. Lily, Timmy, and Mark circled it, strategizing. "Okay, Timmy, you guide the dolly," Lily instructed. "Dad, you help me lift the side just enough to get the wheels under." With a grunt, Mark and Lily heaved against the dumpster's cold metal side. It barely budged. Timmy, struggling with the unwieldy dolly, managed to wedge one wheel underneath. "More." Lily strained, her face flushed. They pushed harder. The dumpster groaned in protest but remained stubbornly grounded. The metal bit into Lily's palms. "It's too heavy," Mark gasped, finally giving up. "This thing must weigh a ton, literally." Lily sagged against the dumpster, defeated. The afternoon sun beat down, turning the metal into a scorching surface. Leo's party was tomorrow. Timmy, ever the optimist, wiped sweat from his brow. "Okay, plan A failed. But we learned something valuable. That dumpster is seriously heavy. Which means Mrs. Crabtree had help moving it. And someone with a truck or a forklift is going to have to move it back." He paused, his eyes gleaming with sudden inspiration. "Which gives me an idea." "A mischievous idea." "So, someone helped her," Lily mused, kicking a stray pebble across the cracked sidewalk. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows, painting the manicured lawns in hues of gold and amber. Timmy, perched on the hood of his beat-up Honda, nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, but who? Old man Fitzwilliam has a bad back, Mrs. Henderson is barely 5 feet tall, and everyone else seems to avoid Crabtree like the plague." He scratched his chin, leaving a smudge of grease on his already grimy fingers. Lily scanned the street again. The houses, each meticulously identical to the next, seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the next act in this ridiculous drama. A robin hopped across Mrs. Crabtree's lawn, pecking at the impossibly green grass. The air smelled faintly of fertilizer and simmering resentment. "Think about it," Lily said, pacing. "Who would be willing to risk her wrath and strong enough to help move a dumpster?" They sat in silence for a few minutes, the only sound the distant drone of a lawnmower. Cars trickled by, each one observed with suspicion until a flash of crimson caught Lily's eye. Parked in Mrs. Crabtree's driveway, gleaming under the setting sun, was her prized possession, a cherry-red convertible polished to a mirror sheen. Chrome gleamed. The leather interior practically screamed expensive. It was the kind of car that made you want to both admire it and key it simultaneously. Lily stopped pacing. A slow smile spread across her face. "Timmy," she said, her voice laced with a mischievous glint, "I think I have an idea." Timmy perked up. "Lay it on me." Lily lowered her voice, drawing Timmy closer. "Remember how you said the dumpster was too heavy to move alone?" He nodded. "And remember how Mrs. Crabtree loves her car more than life itself?" Another nod, this one tinged with understanding. "Well," Lily continued, a wicked glint dancing in her eyes, "what if we gave her a little incentive to move that dumpster herself?" Timmy's eyebrows shot up. "You're not suggesting." "Oh, I am," Lily confirmed, her smile widening. "We're going to play a little game of vehicular relocation." She explained her plan, her voice a low, conspiratorial whisper. Timmy listened intently, his initial shock slowly giving way to a grin that mirrored Lily's. "That's insane," he said, shaking his head, but the laughter in his eyes betrayed his true feelings. "I love it. But how are we going to pull it off?" "Crabtree never lets that car out of her sight." "That's where the art comes in," Lily said, tapping her temple. "We need a distraction. A big one." They spent the next hour brainstorming, their initial excitement tempered by the logistical challenges of their audacious plan. They needed to lure Mrs. Crabtree away from her house long enough to execute their artistic maneuver. A fake emergency? A staged neighborhood dispute? The possibilities seemed endless and equally risky. As dusk settled, painting the sky in shades of purple and orange, they finally settled on a plan. It was audacious, bordering on reckless, but it had the potential to be spectacularly effective. "Okay," Timmy said, a determined glint in his eyes. "Let's do this. But if we get caught, I'm blaming you." "Deal," Lily said, extending her hand. "But if we succeed, you owe me a lifetime supply of oil changes." They shook on it, the pact sealed under the watchful gaze of the darkening sky. The air crackled with anticipation, a mixture of excitement and nervous energy. Lily could almost taste the sweet flavor of victory, mixed with a healthy dose of fear. It was a recipe for either disaster or triumph, and she was determined to make it the latter. One thing was for sure. Mrs. Crabtree was about to get a taste of her own medicine, served with a side of artistic flair and a generous helping of karmic justice. The game was on. The unusual toe. Lily chewed on the end of her paintbrush, staring at the laptop screen. Acme Towing. Reliable towing. Honest Abe's Towing. Honesty doesn't exactly scream, willing to participate in borderline illegal activity, does it? Timmy, sprawled on the floor amidst a sea of crumpled takeout containers, popped a stray French fry into his mouth. "Maybe we need to think outside the box. What about companies that specialize in, really weird stuff?" Lily's eyes lit up. "You mean stunt towing? Or repo companies that don't ask too many questions?" They spent the next hour sifting through the digital underbelly of the towing world. Finally, a website with a stark black background and a single, blinking cursor caught their attention. It read, "Unconventional Towing Solutions. Inquiries only." "This is it," Lily breathed, clicking the link. The page that loaded was even more cryptic, featuring a grainy photo of a tow truck hauling a Ferris wheel? Beneath it, a single phone number. "Worth a shot," Timmy said, already reaching for his phone. The call was answered on the third ring by a gruff voice that simply said, "Yo." Timmy, after a nervous cough, launched into his carefully rehearsed spiel. "Hi, we have a unique towing situation. Very unique. And we were wondering if your company might be interested." There was a long pause. "Define unique." Timmy, glancing at Lily for encouragement, plunged ahead. He explained, omitting any incriminating details about the dumpster and focusing on Mrs. Crabtree's parking habits and the need to move a car from one side of the street to the other without alerting the owner. The voice on the other end remained silent for so long, Lily thought the call had dropped. Then a low chuckle rumbled through the speaker. Sounds like my kind of Tuesday. Meet me at the old lumber mill on Willow Creek Road in an hour. The line went dead. The lumber mill was a skeletal structure of decaying wood and rusted metal, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and forgotten industry. A battered tow truck, painted a disturbing shade of purple, sat idling in the overgrown parking lot. A man emerged, his face obscured by a baseball cap and a thick, greasy beard. He wore a t-shirt that read, "I break for yard sales." "You the artistic types with the parking problem?" he asked, his voice surprisingly high-pitched. Lily stepped forward. "We are. I'm Lily and this is Timmy." The man grunted. "Call me Wrench. So, tell me about this art installation and how it involves my truck." Lily, with Timmy occasionally interjecting with helpful details, painted a vivid picture of Mrs. Crabtree, her vindictive nature, and the strategic importance of moving her car. She emphasized the need for discretion and the importance of not causing any damage. Wrench listened impassively, occasionally spitting into the dirt. When Lily finished, he rubbed his beard thoughtfully. "So, you want me to relocate this lady's car, without her knowing, as a prank?" "It's more of a performance piece," Lily corrected, "with a very important message about community and fairness." Wrench snorted. "Right, performance art. Look, I don't care if it's performance art or a kangaroo court. I get paid by the job. And this job, well, it tickles my funny bone. But it ain't gonna be cheap." They haggled for another half hour, Lily arguing that it was a simple tow, Wrench countering with the complexities of avoiding detection and the potential for legal repercussions. Finally, they agreed on a price that made Lily's wallet weep but felt like a necessary investment in their mission. "All right," Wrench said, clapping his hands together. "Here's the deal. I need a distraction. Something big. Something that'll keep her eyes glued somewhere else while I hook up her chariot and take it for a little stroll." Lily grinned. "We've got that covered." She glanced at Timmy, a silent agreement passing between them. Operation Distraction was officially a go. Operation Dumpster Delivery. A bloated moon sagged in the inky sky, stretching gaunt shadows from the skeletal limbs of the ancient oak sentinel at the cul-de-sac's mouth. Lily perched on the asphalt, hugging her knees, a tremor in her belly mimicking a moth's frantic dance around a porch's glow. Beside her, Timmy gnawed on licorice, his usual swagger subdued by the night's cloak and the gravity of their bold scheme. "He's late," she breathed, vaporous in the chilled air. Timmy checked his phone. "Patience, Lillipad. Merely 12 minutes past rendezvous. Fortitude, grasshopper. Rewards favor those who persevere. Rewards also favor punctuality," Lily murmured, eyes darting towards Mrs. Crabtree's house, a somber, unlit block at the street's terminus. Each creak of timber, each rustle of foliage sounded like approaching discovery. At last, a deep thrum shattered the hush. Twin beams, unwavering and bright, sliced through the gloom. A tow truck, a battle-scarred titan of steel, materialized from the murk, its engine a low, visceral growl that resonated in Lily's chest. Wrench was at the helm, his face obscured by shadows beneath a well-worn cap. He braked a discreet distance from Mrs. Crabtree's driveway, the truck's lamps casting elongated, warped shapes of the nearby dumpster. Wrench remained mute, offering only a curt nod, a tacit confirmation of their presence. Lily gulped, her throat sandpaper dry. This was the moment. "Right," she said, her voice barely audible. "Operation Dumpster Delivery is a go." Ever pragmatic, Timmy retrieved a small, battery-operated fan from his pack. "Diversion time," he declared, strategically positioning the device behind a rose bush in Mrs. Crabtree's fastidiously cultivated garden. He flicked it on. The faint hum was almost imperceptible but hopefully sufficient to trigger the motion sensor lights. Meanwhile, Wrench was all action. He deployed the tow truck's arm with practiced expertise, hydraulics hissing softly. Thick cables unfurled, metal hooks gleaming in the lunar wash. He moved with deliberate, almost poetic precision, each gesture calculated and efficient. Lily watched, captivated, as he deftly secured the hooks to the dumpster's reinforced corners. A gentle click echoed as the mechanisms engaged. Cables tightened. The dumpster, a cumbersome metal bin, groaned its objection as it was slowly, inexorably hoisted skyward. The air grew thick with the metallic bite of stressed steel and the pungent reek of decaying refuse. Lily held her breath, her pulse hammering in her ears. Mrs. Crabtree's dwelling remained dark and silent. The whir of Timmy's fan was the only sound rivaling the tow truck's mechanical concerto. The dumpster swayed gently, suspended midair like a macabre ornament. Wrench navigated the arm with meticulous care, inching the dumpster closer to Mrs. Crabtree's prized convertible. The car, a lustrous cherry-red emblem of suburban conformity, seemed to shrink beneath the looming presence of the metal container. Lily could almost sense Mrs. Crabtree's fury radiating from the shuttered windows. She pictured the woman's face, twisted with outrage, as she took in the scene unfolding. A slight, guilty thrill surged through her veins. Wrench paused, his figure silhouetted against the moon's glare. He adjusted the dumpster's angle, each movement measured and deliberate. The edge of the bin hovered precariously over the convertible's open top. Then, with a final, almost imperceptible correction, he released the dumpster. The impact was muted, a soft thump swallowed by the night. But Lily knew. She knew the dumpster now rested snugly within Mrs. Crabtree's car, a metal parasite invading its cherry-red host. Wrench disengaged the cables, the hooks retracting with a soft chime. The tow truck arm swung back into place, its movement fluid and silent. He gave another terse nod, a wordless declaration that the mission was accomplished. Lily exhaled shakily, the tension ebbing from her body. Timmy silenced the fan, the sudden quiet almost deafening. "Well," he said, a mischievous glint in his eye. "That was dumpsterific." Lily couldn't suppress a giggle, the sound rippling softly through the stillness. She knew they weren't entirely safe yet. There was still the matter of Mrs. Crabtree's reaction and the potential repercussions of their audacious deed. But for now, in this moment, standing beneath the moon's watchful eye, they had triumphed. Wrench ignited the engine, the tow truck's lights cutting through the darkness. He steered away from the curb, vanishing back into the shadows from where he appeared, leaving behind only the faint aroma of diesel and the lingering anticipation of chaos. The Crabtree's comeuppance. The first rays of dawn, pale and hesitant, crept over the manicured lawns of Willow Creek Estates. Birds chirped, oblivious to the chaos brewing just a few houses down from Lily's. Inside the Crabtree residence, Beatrice Crabtree arose, her morning routine as rigid as the HOA bylaws she so fiercely defended. She padded to the window, a smug smile playing on her lips. Today was Garden Club Day, and her prize-winning roses were sure to be the envy of all. Stepping onto the meticulously swept driveway, she expected to be greeted by the gleaming reflection of her convertible. Instead, she stopped dead, her silk dressing gown billowing around her like a startled cloud. The convertible was there, all right, but it was no longer gleaming. It was embracing a dumpster. A guttural sound, somewhere between a gasp and a choked sob, escaped her lips. She circled the vehicle, her eyes widening with each step. The dumpster, overflowing with what appeared to be construction debris, splintered wood, torn drywall, and a rogue toilet seat, sat nestled snugly within the confines of her beloved car. The sweet, floral scent of her rose perfume was now battling the pungent aroma of wet garbage. Beatrice's carefully constructed composure shattered. She emitted a shriek that could curdle milk, a sound that shattered the morning calm and sent birds scattering in panicked flight. Lily, who had been strategically positioned on her porch, ostensibly watering her petunias, nearly choked on her own surprise. It was one thing to plan the prank, another to witness the aftermath. Timmy, peeking from behind the azalea bushes across the street, gave her a nervous thumbs-up. "Lily Bloom." Beatrice's voice, amplified by outrage, cut through the morning air. Lily winced, setting down her watering can. Time to face the music. As Lily walked towards the Crabtree residence, a few curious faces began to peek out from behind curtains. A dog barked. The news was spreading like wildfire. Beatrice stood, arms akimbo, before her defiled vehicle, her face a mask of crimson fury. "What is the meaning of this?" she spat, each word a venomous projectile. "Good morning, Mrs. Crabtree," Lily said, attempting a disarming smile. "Lovely day, isn't it?" Beatrice's eyes narrowed to slits. "Don't you dare play coy with me, young lady. You are responsible for this abomination." "Responsible?" Lily feigned innocence. "I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I know it was you. Who else would do such a thing?" Beatrice gestured wildly at the dumpster. "Look at my car. It's ruined. Ruined, I say." By now, a small crowd had gathered at the edge of the Crabtree's property. Mrs. Henderson, from next door, clutched her chihuahua, its tiny body trembling. Mr. Abernathy, usually a picture of suburban stoicism, was openly chuckling, a rare sight. Even Agnes Periwinkle, the HOA president's wife, couldn't suppress a tiny smirk. Mrs. Crabtree, Lily said, keeping her voice even, I understand you're upset, but making accusations without proof isn't very neighborly. Proof? This dumpster is my proof. Your history is my proof. Your constant disregard for the rules is my proof. Beatrice's voice rose in pitch, attracting even more onlookers. Perhaps, Lily suggested, with a saccharine sweetness that dripped with irony, someone was trying to return something you lost? I mean, you're always misplacing things around the neighborhood. A ripple of suppressed laughter ran through the assembled neighbors. Beatrice Crabtree's face darkened further. This isn't funny, she shrieked. This is vandalism. This is an act of war. She pointed a trembling finger at Lily. I will see you punished for this, Lily Bloom. I will make sure you regret the day you ever crossed me. Lily simply shrugged, her eyes twinkling with defiance. Well, Mrs. Crabtree, she said, gesturing to the dumpster, looks like you've got a bit of a mess to clean up. I'd offer to help, but I wouldn't want to violate any HOA regulations about, I don't know, unauthorized dumpster placement. With that, Lily turned and walked back towards her house, the sound of Beatrice Crabtree's sputtering rage fading behind her, replaced by the barely concealed chuckles of the neighbors. Operation Dumpster Delivery, it seemed, had been a resounding, if slightly chaotic, success. The battle, however, was far from over. A brighter sunny acres. The emergency HOA meeting crackled with an energy that smelled faintly of burnt toast and simmering rage. Beatrice Crabtree, her face a mottled roadmap of fury, stood ramrod straight, her perfectly coiffed hair seemingly defying gravity. Lily, seated near the back with Timmy beside her for moral support, felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach, despite knowing she held the winning hand. This is an outrage. Beatrice boomed, her voice echoing off the sterile walls of the Sunny Acres Community Hall. A deliberate act of vandalism orchestrated by that artist and her hooligan accomplice. She jabbed a trembling finger in Lily's direction. A murmur rippled through the assembled residents. Lily noticed Mr. Henderson, usually so timid, actually straightened his posture and met Beatrice's gaze. Mrs. Crabtree called Mr. Abernathy, the HOA treasurer, his voice surprisingly firm. We understand you're upset, but we need to hear from everyone before making any judgments. Lily, would you care to speak? Lily stood, smoothing down her paint-splattered jeans. Thank you, Mr. Abernathy. Yes, I would. I understand everyone is upset about the dumpster incident, but I think it's important to understand what led to it. She nodded to Timmy, who connected his laptop to the projector. A video flickered to life on the screen. It showed Lily's driveway clearly blocked by a large dumpster. Then Mrs. Crabtree herself appeared, adjusting the dumpster with a gloved hand, ensuring it completely obstructed the entrance. The timestamp was clearly visible. A collective gasp filled the room. Beatrice Crabtree's face turned an alarming shade of purple. This is taken out of context, she sputtered. I was merely ensuring its proper placement. Lily raised an eyebrow. Proper placement? On my driveway? Preventing me from leaving my house? For the third time this month, I might add. She gestured to Timmy, who played a montage of similar incidents, each clearly showing Mrs. Crabtree's involvement. The murmurs intensified, evolving into outright grumbling. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. Mrs. Crabtree, he said, his voice gaining confidence, I recall you telling me last week that Lily's artistic endeavors were an eyesore and detracted from property values. Beatrice glared at him. They do. Regardless, Mr. Abernathy interjected, these videos clearly show a pattern of behavior that is unacceptable. Blocking someone's driveway is a violation of several HOA regulations, not to mention common decency. The tension in the room was palpable. Even the air seemed to crackle with disapproval aimed squarely at Mrs. Crabtree. A motion was quickly made and seconded to hold a vote of no confidence in Beatrice Crabtree's leadership as HOA president. The vote was swift and decisive. The show of hands was overwhelmingly against her. Beatrice Crabtree, defeated and humiliated, stormed out of the community hall, muttering about ungrateful neighbors and the downfall of society. The meeting continued, albeit in a much calmer atmosphere. After a brief discussion, Mr. Abernathy was elected as the new HOA president. He was a man of reason, fairness, and, most importantly, possessed a genuine desire to foster a sense of community. The very next morning, Mr. Abernathy, looking slightly rumpled but determined, stood on Lily's doorstep. Lily, he said, extending his hand, on behalf of the Sunny Acres HOA, I want to sincerely apologize for the way you and your family have been treated. Mrs. Crabtree's actions were unacceptable and do not reflect the values of our community. Lily shook his hand, a genuine smile gracing her lips. Thank you, Mr. Abernathy. That means a lot. We want to make things right, he continued. We understand you were trying to honor your friend Sarah, and we want to support that. We'll work with you to find a suitable location for your mural, one that complies with regulations but also allows you to express your creativity. A wave of relief washed over Lily. That's wonderful, Mr. Abernathy. I appreciate that more than you know. He smiled. Good. Now, I believe there's a rainbow I need to admire. He gestured towards the vibrant painting on Lily's garage door, a splash of color that seemed to radiate joy. Life in Sunny Acres began to shift. The oppressive atmosphere that had hung heavy for so long started to dissipate. The rigid rules seemed to bend slightly, allowing for a little more individuality and self-expression. Lily, with renewed vigor, continued to paint. She painted rainbows on flower pots, whimsical designs on birdhouses, and murals on approved community walls. She even started offering art classes to the neighborhood children, turning the community hall into a kaleidoscope of colors and laughter. The dumpster incident, while initially a source of conflict, ultimately became a catalyst for positive change. It exposed the flaws in the HOA system and paved the way for a more inclusive and compassionate community. Sunny Acres was still a work in progress, but it was undeniably brighter, more vibrant, and a little bit more. Lily Bloom. The colorful spirit of Sarah lived on in every brushstroke, a testament to the power of art to heal, inspire, and transform a community, one rainbow at a time.